Well, hey there, boys and girls. Today we are going to go over your science review assignment, which was pages 517 to 520. So you should have already done those pages, and now I'm going to go over all the questions, kind of like we've done before. So here we go. All right. So the first question is a community of organisms and the environment in which they live in is called an ecosystem. Number two, all the living and non-living things that surround you make up your environment. Number three, the disappearance of an entire kind of living thing is known as extinction. Number four, harmful substances that get into the air, ground, and water are forms of pollution. Okay. Number five, 20 years ago, Mr. Jackson planted 4 trees in his front yard. The thickness of the bark on each tree is given in the table below. In Mr. Jackson's backyard, woodpeckers are nesting. Woodpeckers can damage a tree if they drill all the way through the bark. Based on these data, which tree is most likely to not be damaged by the woodpeckers? Well, think about that. If they are drilling through the bark that is the thickest will be the tree which will survive. And that would be this one right here. So tree B. Thickness. 5.2 is the thickest there. Number 6, the state bird of Florida is the mockingbird. Mockingbirds eat many types of food, including insects, berries, and seeds. Insects and seeds have hard coverings, but berries are soft. I got thinking about a mockingbird, and they are actually like a pretty cool bird because they mock other birds. Not that they make fun of them, but they copy the calls of other birds. So I kind of pulled up a video here. I wanted to show you. Okay, I'm going to. Just listen to it. There's a different sound. Isn't that funny? I thought that was pretty interesting. So anyway, let's get back to what we were doing. Mockingbirds eat many types of food. I'm back up here. Let's kind of go over this. Eat many types of food, including insects, berries, and seeds. Insects and seeds have hard coverings, but berries are soft. If the plants that make berries don't grow well one year, so no soft food, which individual mockingbirds are most likely to survive? So if there are no soft foods for the mockingbird to eat, you're going to need a strong beak to be able to survive and eat the seeds and the insects. All right. Number 7, when the environment changes, differences between individuals allow some plants and animals to survive while others die or move to new locations. Which of these statements best describes how this happens? And the best answer here is C. It says, animals have variations. That means they're slightly different from each other. And when these And when the environmental change, wait, and when the environment changes, these variations allow populations to adapt and survive. So, kind of like that mockingbird, it had the ones that had the stronger beaks were able to survive. So it's sort of like that. That would be a variation in the mockingbird. Number 8. Some zebras are taller and some run faster. So again, variations. Some have longer hair, some have longer tails. What is the most important reason for a population to have individual variation? So remember, differences in organisms are called variations, and some of those variations help them survive. So the best choice here is I. Variation ensures or makes possible that at least some individuals may be able to survive if the environment changes. If you had horses with long, thick fur, they're going to be better to survive if there's like a cold weather pattern that goes on for a long time, if the climate changes to colder. Number 9, environmental changes happen all the time. Some of these changes are easy to spot. For example, the figure below shows a sign that you might see while riding along a road in Florida. Let's take a look at that. Coming soon, single family homes. I've seen signs like this all the time. That means that people are going to be developing an area. Okay? What can you conclude about the environmental changes after seeing the sign? Well, if there's going to be a lot of homes being built, that means that this environment will be soon changed by human activity, because it is the humans that is building and developing an area that didn't have any buildings or anything like that. Number 10, beach mice live on the Gulf Coast of Florida's Barrier Islands. Despite their name, these beach mice are found in inland areas. Inland means away from the shore, as well as along the beach. However, the beach mice that live inland are usually darker in color than those that live on the sandy beaches along the coast. Which of these statements explains the color difference? Well, thinking about a beach, sandy beaches are kind of bright colored, light colored. So that kind of makes sense that the lighter mice might live on the shore or near the shore, whereas inland there's going to be some darker vegetation that they can blend in with, so the darker mice will live there. This reminds me of that question I had on one of those EDSB activities I had you do this week about the peppered moths, and how we had dark peppered moths and we had light peppered moths, and the ones that were blended into their environment better survived. Anyway, so getting back to this question, the correct answer is H. The mice have adapted to living in their specific environment. Number 11. In a science experiment, the soil was placed in 4 different beakers. The following diagram shows the conditions of the soil for each beaker. So A is soaked, B is wet, C is damp, and D is dry. Which of the following beakers models drought conditions? And I know you all know that would be the dry one, beaker D. Number 12, the following picture shows a wetland in Florida and the plants that grow there. Which of the following conditions do the plants have to cope with? Well, if it's a wetland, they're going to have to be able to live in wet soil. Not all plants can do that, like a cactus. Cactuses live in dry environments, dry soil. that get very little rain, and they could not survive in a wetland. But these plants they show here can survive in a wetland. All right, number 13. A farmer plants corn every year. One year, the farm experiences a drought and receives some rainfall, but much less than is normal during the growing season. Make a claim about what is likely to happen to the corn plants. Explain your reasoning. Now, if you think back to our drought experiment with the basil plants, the one plant that grew the most was the one that got water every day and the most water every day. Apparently, basil seems to grow well when the soil is really wet. The others that got less rain or less water or water every other day, they grew, but they didn't grow as much as the one that got the most water. So it's kind of related here. The corn plants that are getting less rain will not grow as much. Now, if this was a year where they were getting a lot of rain or a normal amount of rain, then those corn plants would probably be taller. And I remember I used to grow up in an area where there was a lot of corn farmers, and they used to say that the corn needed to be knee-high by July for it to be a good harvest. So you could walk into a cornfield in July and hopefully the corn was up to your knees. And that would tell you that you have a good growing season. Ricardo, number 14, planted 50 grass seeds in 3 identical pots of soil. He watered 1 pot every day, watered 1 pot every 3rd day, and gave 1 pot no water. He observed each pot and recorded the number of seeds that had sprouted after 30 days. The following table shows his results. What conclusion can you draw from this data? How does the data support your conclusion? Well, clearly, pot A got watered every day and 36 seeds sprouted. On the other end, pot C was not watered at all and none of the seeds sprouted. So it's pretty easy to make this conclusion. The pot with the most water sprouted more plants. And then for the second part, because 36 sprouted compared to 25 and 0. Okay. Well, let's get back and wrap this up. Okay, so that was your review assignment, and today I want you to look on Edsby for that blue Take Test button, and that will give you a review of this unit. And then the next day you'll take the unit test. This was a very short unit, really only 1 lesson and 1 experiment, but we kind of stretched it out a little bit. I hope you found this to be a good learning unit about how environments change and how organisms have to adapt to those changes. So, good luck with your EDSB review. That will count. You can do it up to 5 times, and whatever your last score is will count as a grade. And then on Friday, you're going to take your science test, and you'll do that on the Ed app in Clever. I lost my mind there. So for now, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do that EDSB activity, and good luck. Talk to you later soon.